What is going on, everybody, and welcome back once again. My name is Jordan, also known as JMonster. Thank you for joining me for another replay battle. Today I've got a 4 versus 4 for you on Age Reforged, and as you can see, it is quite the spectacle. It's a very close battle, and gets started with some very aggressive rush gameplay. I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun with it. So without any further ado, let's get right into the army compositions, then we can get into the replay itself. I hope you guys enjoy it. Just a brief note before we get into the army compositions, you may have noticed that this video does not have a cinematic introduction. That is not because I am lazy. Believe me, the cinematic introductions take a long time to produce, and given what my schedule is like in real life right now, it does take a lot of time away from things that I have to do that are actually very important. So unfortunately, this one will not have a cinematic intro, but you are going to be getting another video today, I believe, after this one, that will have about a minute and a half of machinima that I put. I think I put like 4 hours into it, so it's really good. I think it's pretty refined, and hopefully it makes up for the lack of an introduction in this video. But in any case, moving on, the first army we're going to look at today is the forces of the Kingdom of Rohan, being commanded by Jon Snow, King of the North, who I believe is otherwise known as DI on the Discord, who is a very experienced Rohan player. This is actually his favorite faction, so I'm sure we're going to see a great showing from him today. He's got one unit of Rohan bodyguards who are AP, and I believe also have 2 HP, so these guys are not easy to kill. Multiple HP heavy cavalry are really just a nightmare for armies to take down in Medieval 2. So these guys can do a ton of work, especially on the charge, where they get a nice bonus as well. He's also got one unit of Kalanarhan Knights, which I believe is where his general is hanging out. You can see his general right there in that sexy red cloak. These guys have fallen somewhat from previous iterations, where they had, I think, about 40 or so men in the unit, and they were an unstoppable force. So they have been toned down. They have very low numbers, but they can do a lot of damage. You definitely want to be careful with how you use them. If they get surrounded by wargs, for example, they will probably do a lot of damage to those wargs, but you will lose a very expensive unit. I think these guys cost about 1,500 or so to field, so you definitely want to take care of them. Moving on over here, we have one unit of Rohan nobles. These are formerly the Rohan Royal Lords. I don't think they've changed a whole lot, except that they have 1 less HP, but they still are heavy cavalry with multiple HP and a lot of armor and melee defense values, so not easy to kill. Rohan definitely is top tier when it comes to cavalry in 0.91, and I don't think that's going to change with the advent of 0.92, which we should be seeing very, very soon. He's also got one unit of Royal Guard. These guys do not have the HP they have had in previous iterations of Reforged, but I believe they're a little bit faster than a lot of heavy cav, and you can use them for lightning strikes and things like that. And of course they have a nice charge bonus, so on the charge these guys are actually AP and can do a lot of damage. Speaking of AP, DI has a very nice armor-piercing lineup. We'll see exactly why he would bring that. He's got a lot of heavily armored foes across the field. But he's got 3 units of Riddermark Axemen, who are pretty decent. They're medium-tier Rohan shock troops. They can do a lot of damage, of course, on the charge, and they are AP as well. So they can be fairly cost-effective when fighting units that rely heavily on their armor, like Gondor or Gundabad in a lot of cases, for example. He's also got a unit of Marshals of the Red. Think of them as upgraded versions of the Riddermark Axemen with multiple HP. These guys do not have a whole lot of numbers, however, you can see the disparity there. The Riddermark Axemen having about a third more in their unit than the Marshals of the Red do. But the Marshals of the Red are not easy to kill. They've got pretty decent armor value, so they will stand up to missiles reasonably well, unless those are AP missiles. And of course they are AP and have a nice charge bonus. Got a unit here of Helm Hammerers, which is a unit that people either love or they hate. I personally like having these guys on the field. It gives Rohan a super heavy unit to kind of fall back on, but it doesn't. They can't be fielded in large numbers, so it doesn't kind of unbalance Rohan in terms of the infantry fight, where Rohan is definitely more of a holding force where they wait for the cav to do all the work. But in any case, the Helm Hammerers have multiple HP, I believe 3 HP, and they are AP, given their gigantic warhammers that you can see right there. He's also got 1 unit of Eorling Axemen, a couple units of Shield Maidens, yet more AP. These guys are AP in melee, and their missile damage is, of course, AP as they toss Franciscas. He's got 3 units of Eorling Archers, one of the few non-AP units in the game, although these guys have axes in melee, so if an axe or if a unit has axes, rather, in Reforged, it's a fair chance to assume that they are also AP. He's got 3 units of Eorling Militia, a nice little holding force, and I think that just about does it for his army. So let's go ahead and let's move on to his ally, and that being the Kingdom of Rune, being commanded by Apollo the Great. He's got 1 unit of Bodyguard. Of course, they are AP, as Bodyguard units in Reforged tend to be. They also share that beautiful Locaines Rim model, which, oh, the bodyguards are here. Yeah, see, you can't tell the difference between the two of them at all. The bodyguards, multiple HP and a lot of attack and defense values, making them devastating on the charge and also not very easy to kill. The Lothlorien Rim, on the other hand, are heavily armored cataphracts. They do not have the HP of the bodyguard counterparts, but they are still a force to be reckoned with. These guys will flatten infantry formations, and they do all right against other cavalry units. I have found in my experience that the Lothlorien Rim do tend to fall apart in the face of stout cavalry resistance. For example, some of the Elven Pathfinders are really good against them, though that may just be the strength of the Elven Pathfinders relative to the Lothlorien Rim, not necessarily a reflection on their performance in general. But that's just my experience. In any case, we got another unit of Lothlorien Rim over here, and one unit of Campbell's Dragon Knights, one of the top-tier cavalry units in the game. I think these guys have had a few nerfs. They were really crazy when they were first added to the game. They had, I think, twice the numbers, and yeah, they were just an unstoppable nightmare. Now they're a little bit better balanced, and they have that beautiful silver cataphract model. And I think they're AP in melee as well as in the charge. These guys are a complete nightmare to have to face. I think they've also got 3 HP, which will help them stick around for a while. We got a couple units here of Clansmen. Not much to say about these guys. They're just kind of throwaway light infantry. A couple units of Runic Swiftblades. Consider these the Gondor infantry of the Rune faction. Some of the more medium tier Runic heavy infantry. These guys have 25 defense and like 10 attack or something like that. So they're not killing machines, but they can hold a line, and they definitely have a lot of numbers to help you support your battle line. We've got, I believe, 3 units of Loke Flagrim, who are one of the super heavy infantry units for Rune. They lack HP, but they do have really nice attack and defense values, and they are AP, so they're great for smashing apart heavy infantry, or just things that rely on their armor in general, which, across the board, Rune is quite adept at. There's also got, I believe, 3 to 4 units of Clan Warriors, who are an upgraded version of the Clansmen, essentially, except that they lack a shield value, so they are very, very vulnerable to missiles. They do have decent attack values, however, like 16 attack and, I believe, 17 defense, most of which is on their melee defense, so they can hold the line against other infantry, especially medium-tier and low-tier infantry. Got 3 units of Loknar Rim, a decent answer to some of the good faction bow units. They are lightly armored, however, so it is easy to beat these guys in a ranged fight. I find that they can do a decent amount of damage to more elite units, like the elves, for example, but they do get shot down quite quickly. So you want to watch their numbers. I think that's about it for Rune, except for he's got a unit here of the Campbell's Chosen, and yeah, there's not much to say about these guys aside from the fact that they are monsters in melee, kind of the dismounted counterparts to the Dragon Knights with multiple HP and I believe AP as well, since they're intended to be a general's bodyguard unit. Moving on now to the third army, we have the forces of the Woodland Realms being played by Glowbox, and I will preface this by saying that the Woodland Realms are going to be changed in the upcoming 0.92 patch, because they are not a little bit. They are actually quite overtuned, at least in my opinion and in the opinion of most of the Discord community, including the developers, that these guys really do need to be toned down a little bit. So we've got 2 units of Elder Pathfinders who have come a long way since the last patch. These guys are now really strong and really fast. Definitely a worthy shock cavalry pick for a Woodland Realm roster. He's got 1 unit of Hiridirth. You can see a couple units of Sindar Blade Masters actually mixed in here. Yes, you can see one of them hiding out right there. It's invisible. There's another one over here. He's got 1 unit of Hiri Bang, 2 units of Elder Royal Guard, one of which has his general in it, which I believe would be... Oh, maybe he doesn't have his general. Maybe his general is actually in the Elder Royal Council unit. That's my bad. So he has the unit of Elder Royal Council, who are AP bows. They're also AP in melee, which is true of the Royal Guard over here as well. These guys do not have AP missiles, but they do have massive 2-handed axes that they can use to carve through their opponents in close range, and multiple HP as well. So not easy to kill these guys, not in the slightest. Behind them, we have a unit of Elder Palace Guard. Everybody loves these guys. They are insane in melee. They've got, I think, 63 melee defense or 62 or something like that, but only 5 or 6 armor. So it is possible to snipe these guys with militia bowmen, but they have so much HP that it's going to take a while for you to be able to do that. So hopefully we'll see some changes to them in the near future, because in my opinion they are a little bit nuts. He's also got 1 unit of Elder King's Guard, who is a really nice General's Bodyguard unit. I think they're one of the more numerous General's Bodyguard cavalry units, and they've got 3 HP, and that cool little like crimson armor that they share with the Elder Royal Guard, just different color palettes. I think that does it for Glowbox's army. So let's move on now to the fourth and final army for this team, and that being the forces of Lothlorien. And Lothlorien is one of my favorite factions because I find that they are one of the better balanced factions in the game. They are very cost efficient, and you can bring a lot with just a slim roster. I think with a meager roster of about 12.5k or 13.5k, you can nearly bring a 20 stack of them, which is pretty crazy for the elves. Elves are usually a very low number. But in any case, I digress. We got a unit here of Galadrim Veteran Riders, who are an awesome skirmish cavalry unit. They have that beautiful elven accuracy, so they can be very useful at sniping other cavalry units, for example, like wargs. These guys are the bane of wargs. They can hunt them down all day, and the wargs will never be able to catch them. He's also got a couple units of Sylvan Heavy Spears, 2 units of Woodland Warriors, who are actually getting a new model in the .92 patch, I believe, so keep an eye out for that. Not that there's anything wrong with this silver model here. I happen to think it's gorgeous, but they are going to be getting an upgrade in the near future, a visual upgrade in the case. He's got 3 units of Sylvan Axemen. Oh yeah, this is being commanded by Son of the Dunedain, by the way. That's my bad. But he's got 3 units of Sylvan Axemen, who are an amazing melee infantry unit. This is one of the reasons why Lothlorien, I think, is a great counter to the dwarves. These guys can go toe-to-toe with the dwarves because they have so much damage, and a lot of it is actually all of it is AP. They've got 22 AP damage, which makes them excellent at carving apart heavy infantry. Got a couple units of Sylvan Heavy Spears who are just kind of alright. Definitely useful in supporting cavalry, which Lothlorien kind of lacks in that department. They've only got a couple cavalry options, and they're good, but they're not exceptional. They're definitely not super heavy, so they will fall apart in the face of other heavy cavalry units. But these Sylvan Heavy Spears, or Silver Spears rather, can help tip the scales. He's also got 1 unit of Sindar Archers, which is the bodyguard unit, and therefore AP, both in at ranged and in melee. He's got a couple units of Sylvan Heavy Archers, and another couple units of Spears and Axes on the front lines. He's also got 1 unit of the Galadrim Mounted Company, who are going to be getting a slight change in the near future. They're going to be losing. Some of them have lances, some of them have swords, which I personally like. It kind of, it bespeaks a certain irregularness. They're not used to fighting on horseback. This is maybe something that they formed, like a regiment that they formed out of necessity, rather than having a strong tradition in, like a strong equestrian tradition. But in any case, they will be getting all lances, so they're going to be standardized. So if that bugs you a little bit, don't worry about it. It will be changing in the near future. Finally, we have a single unit of Galadrim Veteran Warriors, who are a bodyguard unit, and therefore also AP missiles. So these guys are pretty damn strong, both at ranged and in melee. They can do a lot of damage. And there's the sexy Lorien general, of course. It is Haldir leading the way. I don't know if we're going to get Celeborn and Galadriel in the near future. That's a question I can pose to the developers. But given the attention to detail that they've shown so far, I'm sure that we will see something like that in the near future. But that does it for this team. Let's go ahead and let's see what the other side is bringing to battle today. Across the field from Lothlorien, we have the forces of Khand, being commanded by that one guy always pooping. It's an interesting name. He's got a couple units of Haruzi Heavy Infantry, who, like so much of the Khandish roster, are AP. They're not top tier by any means, but they can get the job done. A little bit farther back here, we can see 3 units of Variag Bows, who actually are AP and melee as well, believe it or not. And they've got a nice little shield value, I think of about 3. So it helps with their armor value and that sort of thing to keep them alive in a skirmish fight. Although against those Elven Archers, it'll be interesting to see how well they do. He's also got 4 units of Nurad Footmen, another AP unit. These guys are beasts. I've seen them carve apart infantry much more expensive and much more elite than they are. So it really helps Khans kind of even out the infantry fight when really for the most part they are known for their skirmishers, their versatile infantry, but most especially their mounted warriors. In any case, he's got 3 units. Also got 3 units of Khandish Marauders. They're basically militia, but they look so damn cool. They've got those cool models that I think were taken from Last Days of the Third Age or Last Age of the Third Age, borrowed them from whoever developed these in the first place. I don't know. But in any case, they look awesome, and they're just expendable like shock troops, so don't expect too much of them, but they can potentially get the job done. I believe they're also AP as well. He's got 1 unit of Brotherhood of the Axe, which is where his general is hanging out. Another beautiful AP unit. Shock unit, obviously, as 200 units tend to be. And they've got multiple HP to help them stick around in the fight. Over beside them, we have their sword arm counterparts, the Brotherhood of the Sword, who, while they lack AP, they do have nice melee defense and nice melee attack values. Moving on to the cavalry contingent, we've got 2 units, I believe, of Nurad Cataphracts, 1 unit of Brotherhood of the Lance, who are still a very strong unit. I believe they're intended to be a general's bodyguard unit, so they are also AP, not just on the charge, but also in melee as well. And we have a single unit of Brotherhood of the Bow, who are AP missiles. These guys are deadly, and they've got multiple HP, so they're not too easy to shoot down. Although, against the elves have the accuracy that if they focus fire these guys, they could have a really bad time. Moving on now to the second army, we're going to call these guys the attacking force. This one is being commanded by Mechanic 007. This is the Free Peoples of Eriador, which is an interesting pick. I don't see people pick these guys very often. They are traditionally considered to be one of the weaker factions, but that is going to change in 0.92. From what I understand, they've gotten a very nice buff, so that's something to get hyped about. But in any case, Mechanic is bringing one unit of Cardinal Knights. Pardon me. He's also got one unit of Battle Ready Dunedain, who are a sexy shock infantry unit, which I think are going to be exclusive to Eriador next patch. Arnor is actually going to be losing them. He's got a couple units of Foreshell Gatekeepers, who are really the centerpiece of an Eriador army. These guys are AP because, of course, they're crossbowmen, but they're also very strong line infantry with those halberds that you can see there. So they can actually do a lot of work, both at range and in close combat against their enemies. He's also got one unit of Foreshell Captains, which I think is the super heavy unit, or the equivalent at least, for the Free Peoples of Eriador. They have about 3 HP. Really nice attack and defense values. They are definitely a competitive unit, although, in my opinion, they do kind of pale in comparison to other super heavy units, like the Dismounted Dunedain Knights, for example. It's got a main line here consisting of 2 units of Foreshell Heavy Swords, and you can't actually see them, but there's a ton of bandits hiding out here. There's like 3 or so units of bandits or bandit ambush or something like that. He's also got 1 unit of Bandit Javies, a really cost-efficient javelin unit, as javelins tend to be, they're usually quite low in terms of cost, and they can do a lot of damage, but these guys especially so. And they've got these, look at this, I love their javelins. They look like little toothpicks, but they actually do a lot of damage, so don't underestimate them. It's got 1 unit of Trebuchet, and a couple units out here of Lumbermen, who have really low morale, but they are, of course, AP, because they've got those massive 2-handed axes, as their name would suggest, for felling both trees and their foes alike. And I think that just about... Actually, no, he's got a serious skirmish line as well. You can't see them, he's got a couple units of Dunedain Rangers, and I think there's a... I think he's got 2 units of Dunedain Rangers and like 2 units of Hobbit Archers or something like that. In any case, I'll put a picture of his army comp in the video so you guys will be able to see it. Moving on now to his ally. This is one of the 2 Gundabad forces we have on the field today, being commanded by Man of Wanwei. He's got 3 units of Orc Marauders, a couple units of Snaga Stalkers, who are really just a throwaway unit, an Arrow Sponge, which is why they're out here in the front in loose formation, to try and soak up as much damage as possible. He's got 1 unit of Orc Fellers, 1 unit of Trolls of Gundabad, who are a very strong troll unit, and I love the way that their helmets look. It's an absurd look for anybody, but honestly I think it's really cool, even though it would be very top heavy. He's got 1 unit of Snow Trolls with their hilariously small shields. A really cost-efficient unit of Trolls. They strike a nice balance between Mountain Trolls and Trolls of Gundabad. Trolls of Gundabad being a little bit stronger, but also more expensive. And they have a couple less in the unit as well. The Snow Trolls strike a nice balance between numbers and power. He's also got a couple units, I believe, of the Rudar Savages, who, again, shock troops. Gundabad being very famous for their Rush roster. He's got 1 unit of Black Rook Warbands. Actually, that's his ally over there, so we won't get too far ahead of ourselves. A couple units of Guardians of Karn Dûm. He's got a really nice elite core that he's built the rest of his army around, which I really like. But yeah, in any case, he's got 2 units of Guardians of Karn Dûm. Really reliable mainland infantry. These guys have a couple, I think, 2 hit points and like 15 charge and a whole bunch of other really nice stuff. So they're actually shock troops as well, but they've got the staying power of elite infantry, which is really, really nice. He's got 1 unit of Witch Realm Blackguard, a bodyguard unit, so I believe they are AP, and Azog, of course, is hanging out there. Ugly bastard. I don't know why he looks that way. Apparently, maybe it's a shader thing, so if you change the shaders in your videos, or in your video settings, he won't look so screwy, but I don't know. I love him. I love our gimpy Azog. In any case, Man of Wanwei's also got a unit of Witch Realm Hammerguard, who are so strong. They've got like 40 attack, it's AP as well, so they can just do a ton of work. 30 defense, and a fair amount of armor as well, so they can stand up to arrows pretty well with their 3 HP. He's got a comparatively weaker selection on cavalry. He's got a couple units of Rudar Scouts, which they're interesting. They do have decent charge values, so you can use them as expendable shock cavalry, but don't expect them to last for very long. They will melt in the face of just about anything. He's also got 1 unit of Bolg's Champions, so he's got some super heavy cavalry here. These guys have 2 HP, anti-armor, anti-cavalry, making them great great super heavy cavalry hunters when supported. He's also got a single unit of Witch Realm Inquisitors to round off his cavalry force. These guys, I don't think have 3 HP anymore, but they have, yeah, I believe they do have 2, but they are still heavy cavalry, and damn do they look cool. Let's just appreciate that for a moment. That is a beautiful model. Moving on now to the 4th and final attacking army, being commanded by Von Mountain. We also have another Gundabad army. He's got 6 units of Orc Fellers, so you know exactly what he's all about right off the bat. This is going to be an army that just charges straight across the field and tries to get stuck in as quickly as possible. To back them up, he's got a couple units of Guardians of Karndu, who, despite the fact that they are sword and board, are actually really nice shock troops. He's also got a couple units of Rudar Berserkers, who, again, another decent shock troop unit, and they've got multiple HP, and they are AP. So, yeah, once you get these guys stuck in, they can do a lot of damage. They also have the added benefit of inspiring units around them to greater courage. So mixing these guys in with the Orc Fellers, for example, would help the Orc Fellers, who have notoriously low morale, stick around for just a little bit longer and do a little bit more damage. He's got, I believe, 1 or 2 units of Rudar Savages, and then we move on to the real killing power in his army. He's got 1 unit of Trolls of Gundabad, 1 unit of Snow Trolls, 1 unit of Bolg's Champions, some Witch Realm Inquisitors, and a couple units of Orc Riders. This is a cavalry lineup, along with those trolls to support them, that is designed to do one thing: of course, destroy the world of men, but also to overwhelm and just beat down with efficiency any heavy cavalry units that he happens to come across. He's really chosen his army, I think, well here. Given that he's going to be facing Rohan across the field, the cavalry that he has available to him in like a pound-for-pound fight, I think that they can beat Rohan, especially if those wargs manage to surround this very small unit of Kalanardhan Knights. The wargs will, of course, take just terrible casualties, but they will neutralize that unit of Kalanardhan Knights, which, in terms of money, that turns out to be a positive trade for Isengard. So it'll be interesting to see how they use their cavalry, what they decide to do. I mean, is he going to go right for Rohan? Is he going to support his ally and try and overwhelm Rune in the center? I don't know. We'll see. But without any further ado, let's get into the replay, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So, as is to be expected, Gundabad is going to go right for it. You can see, I'm pretty sure that Von Mountain and Man of Wanwei coordinated this, because Von Mountain definitely has less numbers than Man of Wanwei, but he's got more cav, whereas Man of Wanwei is a little bit lighter in the cav department, but definitely heavier in the infantry line. So these guys, I think, have definitely coordinated that strategy ahead of time, and they're just going to go right for one person, try and knock him out of the game as quickly as possible, and then hopefully overwhelm any of the reinforcements who are just going to rush in there to aid him and maybe catch them out of position. So yeah, Gundabad just going right for it. We're going to go ahead and we're going to slow that down just a little bit because we don't want to miss anything. Over here, you can see Glowbox is going to react to this by sending some of his cavalry to the aid of his ally. Both Rohan and Glowbox are converging on this position, so this very aggressive play by Gundabad could turn out to be a big mistake if they get themselves surrounded. Across the way, you can see the Eriador is content to just sit there up on their hill and pound away with their artillery. Not a lot of aggressive play here coming from the other end of the team, which might end up being a problem for Gundabad. They could be overextending themselves and potentially get their necks lopped off. Over here, the Runic player, or not the Runic player, the Khan player, consolidating his forces. He kind of left his Harusian infantry out there in the open. I think it was definitely a mistake. You can see a lot of them got shot up by the Elven archers in the retreat. So he's just going to consolidate his forces, and then I guess he's going to figure out what he's going to do with his ally. But in any case, let's get back to the action in the center. Yeah, we can see Gundabad just going for it. Big countercharge here coming in from the Runic Cataphract Corps, but they are going to get caught in the flank by some trolls of Gundabad. But unfortunately, the charge carrying through is going to skewer half of that unit. So Man of Wanwei is going to lose a lot of his trolls here, about half of his very expensive troll unit right off the bat. That is just really unfortunate timing for... actually, that's Von Mountain. That is very unfortunate timing for Von Mountain right there. But those Gundabad trolls can pick themselves up and charge right into the flank of some of these Aorling Axemen who are moving in to support the Runic line. Let's see here. You can see Rohan actually moving around to envelop the forces of Gundabad. Gundabad now being forced to hold their cavalry in reserve. You can see Rohan launching some lightning strikes into the front here with the Royal Guard, getting everyone into position so they can potentially hammer and anvil the Gundabad lines. But the Gundabad Elite Corps moving up the rear is going to present a threat that needs to be dealt with by Rohan before they are able to shut down the advancing Gundabad forces. A nice charge into the flank and rear by those snow trolls, but unfortunately, they are going to get skewered by those cavalry. I don't know how that happened. I think they charged a little bit a little bit too early, possibly into the front of the units, and got skewered as they were charging down at the infantry. So those trolls trying to run down those Rohan nobles and be as big of a pain as possible. At the same time, Gundabad bringing in their wargs and their Temple Inquisitors, trying to overwhelm the forces of Rohan, the very outnumbered forces from Rohan here. Over here, the Royal Guard really taking a bite out of those Warg Riders. Warg Riders just don't have an answer. Kalanordhan Knights, look at that, charging into battle. Going to do a ton of damage to these wargs. In a straight fight like this, those wargs will just get annihilated. The Kalanordhan Knights need to be surrounded. So unfortunately, that is going to be the end of that warg unit for all intents and purposes. Reduced now to a mere 10. They are definitely combat infecting. You can see those trolls looking to get a piece of the Rohan cav, chasing them out of the fight, pushing Rohan out of position, and hopefully allowing Gundabad a little bit of a reprieve. You can see the Gundabad Elite Corps from Man of Wanwei engaging the Rohirrim. The Marshal of the Red managing to overlap these Guardians of Karn Doom. They're going to do a lot of damage to them with those AP, and in fact, I think they are going to be able to turn this flank and eventually surround these Guardians. So that's going to be a bad thing for them. Nice hammer and anvil strike here, coming in from Glowbox with his Elder King's Guard into the rear of Man of Wanwei's lines. Going to want to be careful, though. Doesn't want to get too close, because there are some stakes there. Same goes for these Elder Pathfinders. There's definitely some stakes along the line here. And if Glowbox isn't careful, he's going to skewer some of his own cavalry. That Elven cavalry, though, just doing a number on the Gundabad main line. They're just getting swept away, and Rune still holding on, although only by a thread. But the arrival of their allies' cavalry, I think, is going to be able to turn this fight in favor of the defending team. Oh man, the Guardians of Karn Doom here on the flank. Even they can't get done what needs to be done. Actually, we got some camels chosen in there. I think that's why these guys are running in to a brick wall. Those camels chosen are a nice counter to a unit like the Guardians of Karn Doom. Here we got some mounted battle-ready Dunedain sent from Eriador to try and aid their allies, trying to get in behind the lines. But there is a Cataphract Corps here. Some of the bodyguard are going to be an answer to that. A nice charge into the rear of the archers here, going to flatten some of those Loknar Rim and take some of the camels chosen with them. But the presence of those bodyguards behind the line is going to shut down these battle-ready Dunedain if they don't get out of there quickly enough. Look at this. You got like this one lone troll of Gundabad getting in there, trying to preoccupy these bodyguards and lend a little bit of aid to his allies' cavalry. A rear charge here from those bodyguards is going to see these mounted battle-ready Dunedain off. Yeah, that's going to be very unfortunate for them. You can see them start to drop. And all along the line here, it's just absolute slaughter. So we got the Cataphracts from Khand arriving on scene. Von Mountain, that one guy is going to have to be real careful here, because as you can see, there are stakes along this line. And this is a very easy detail to miss, and indeed he is going to miss it. Oh, that is tragic. Those Neuride Cataphracts charging into that line, getting themselves absolutely destroyed. That is going to even out the cavalry superiority of the attacking team, and I think it'll tip the scales in favor of the defenders. Elsewhere, we can see that Rohan is slowly cleaning up what remains of Von Mountain's Gundabad. Actually, this is Man of Wanwei's Elite Corps, the Witch Realm Blackguard, beleaguered here, caught on all sides. We got Marshals of the Red, Rittermark Axemen, and yet more Rittermark Axemen. This is going to prove to be a big problem for Gundabad. I think they were a little bit too eager here. The rush army can work, but they just didn't have any support from their allies. And, of course, the defending allies were able to respond swiftly enough and surround them. You can see the result of that all along the main line there. Witch Realm Inquisitors here from Man of Wanwei, trying to shut down some of these skirmishers. DI always has a couple units of Pocket Shield Maidens hiding somewhere, so something to be aware of if you ever face him on the battlefield. Witch Realm Inquisitors really not having a good day. Those Aeroling Archers just spraying them. Got some Kalanordhan Knights here, at least what remains of them. The one person left in the Kalanordhan Knight unit, that being the Rohan General. Yeah, these Witch Realm Inquisitors now have, I think, free reign to do as they please to these poor skirmish units, and DI, I think, is a little bit preoccupied elsewhere, and just not able to respond to this cavalry behind his lines, wreaking all of this havoc. I think he's really suffered heavy casualties amongst his horsemen. What do we got in the back here? Is that one lone warg just harassing these Aeroling Archers? That is a nice move. It is going to do some damage to them, and it is going to tie them up for long enough so that they may not be able to fire unless they are in defensive formation, and it looks like they are. So they are, yeah, they're going to be able to continuously fire. What do we got over here? We got some Kalanardhan Knights moving in to try and support their ally. I think a better use for these troops at this point would be to take these Kalanardhan Knights and to beat down these Eorling archers, because they are going to do a lot of damage to the Kalanardhan Knights if they're able to fire into the rear, which is exactly what is happening right now. Let's slow things down just a little bit and see how things are going. Oh, there goes the Runic General. I think it's fair to say that Rune has been wiped off the map, but the trade was definitely not in the favor of the attackers, because you can see that the Gundabad armies are just completely annihilated. And of course, they lost a lot of cavalry here as well, Khan losing one of their very expensive Murad Cataphract units. But as I was saying, we're going to move over here and take a look at what Eriador is doing. Eriador is still very static at this point. Glowbox and his elves, along with his Lothlorien ally, just kind of staring across the field. You can see the Glowbox has pushed forward a little bit, probably hoping to get into a skirmish fight where the elves, in my opinion, will definitely have the advantage given the amount of HP that they have on their skirmishing line. And of course, they've got the backup of the Lothlorien Realms, who have a very similar lineup with the Gladron Veteran Warriors and the Cinder Archers, and of course the 2 units of Sylvan Heavy Archers. This is not going to be a fight that is easy for these two isolated attacking forces to win, at least in terms of the skirmish phase. They've got a lot of archers. Of course, they've got the 3 units of Variag Bowmen here, and a few units of Dunedain Rangers and things like that. But ultimately, I think that is going to go in favor of the elves. Looking over here, it looks like we got some Galadrim mounted company skirting around the flank of the Eriador army over on their right. This is going to present a menace behind their lines that needs to be dealt with. I hope that they've still got some cavalry in reserve and they haven't sent it all away, because otherwise those Galadrim mounted company can become a serious nuisance. And indeed they do. They've got a unit of Dunedain bodyguards here, so that should be enough to check the advance of those Galadrim mounted company. Moving back over to the line, let's just take a look at what remains of Rune and Gundabad. You can see some of Von Mountain's forces here alongside the Khandish cavalry taking care of business, just cutting down whatever remains of the runic forces. There's still this bodyguard unit here that is entangled with cataphracts, but there's enough infantry in forms of the Guardians of Karn Doom and these trolls, of course, to wipe out what remains of them. Actually, Rohan paid quite heavily in this exchange as well. So effectively, 2 armies have, or rather 4 armies have wiped each other out here. Although Gundabad looking like they have come out favorably. They've got some Witch Realm Inquisitors here, and another unit of them over there to continuously be a problem for what remains of Rohan, who has no cavalry now, just a few archer units. Well, looks like Von Mountain had a unit of Shadow Guard hiding somewhere. I don't think I saw them do too much in the fight, but in an exchange like this against the Aerodling archers, these guys are going to do a ton of damage. Yeah, the Shadow Guard are no slouches in melee. Even though these guys have the numbers, the Aerodling archers are going to be soundly defeated by these elite Numenorians. But yeah, once these guys are finished mopping up Rohan, hopefully they'll be able to move over and support their allies against the 2 Elven factions, because these guys are locked in combat with units that's with factions that specialize in ranged warfare. And you can, oh my goodness, look at this, you can already see, oh, there goes the Rohan general, so that's basically it for Rohan. But you can just see the damage those elves have done. They're so accurate, and these very lightly armored Dunedain Rangers are going to have a very difficult time standing up to that constant and withering fire coming out of the Elven skirmish line. Look at this. They're doing their best to fire back. We've got some Variag bows over here as well, trying to focus down some of these units of Royal Guard and things like that. And of course, we've got the crossbows in the back and the... Oh, wow. What just happened over there? Somebody just got flattened. Oh, those poor silver spears just got decimated. About half the unit there now gone. But as I was saying, the amount of power that these Elven units can bring to bear in a skirmish fight, I think it's just going to be overwhelming for Eriador and Kant. Even Kant, who has a fairly competent line of skirmishers themselves. Looks like we had a charge here from the Cardolan Royal Guard into the Elder Royal Guard, which did absolutely nothing. Glowbox was very quickly able to repulse them with the aid of his Palace Guard and the prowess of those Elder Royal Guard in melee. Over here, this charge is going to be a little bit more effective since the Hairy Bang do not have HP, but unfortunately, not too many of them are going to die. I think only 1 or 2 here has died as a result of that cavalry charge. So unfortunately, the Woodland Realm is just seeming unstoppable at this point. Yeah, not a whole lot left here of the Eriador line. Oh my goodness, that was a massacre. And there's like no dead elves over there either. You can see what I mean when I say that the Woodland Realms will be toned down. So don't worry about it too much. These guys, they will be seeing some changes in the near future. Now the Woodland Realm and Lothlorien have set their sights on the Variags, who are just dropping like flies. This unit here already down to 21. These guys surely soon to follow. Yeah, so the skirmish fight definitely not in favor of Khan and Eriador at this point. But let's see. Looks like Gundabad has wiped out all that remains of Rohan and Rune, except for a small pocket of resistance down here. We got one lone Marshal of the Red fighting against some Orc Marauders. Not doing too bad for himself. He's going to stab the guy with the blunt end of his axe, as you do, and then lop off his head. Guardians of Karn Doom have had enough of this, so they're going to advance on him and wipe him out. But for the most part, it looks like Rohan pretty much gone. Yeah, there's a few A-Whirling Archers here fighting against a singular troll of Gundabad. He's just kicking these guys around, smashing faces with that beautiful mace of his. So the Wish Realm Inquisitor's coming in to give him a little bit of help. So the action is officially over here until Gundabad moves in to try and reinforce our ally. This is going to take some coordination, though. If these guys advance forward at the same time as their allies move in to attack from the rear, then I think that they can beat the forces of Glowbox, the very numerically inferior forces of Glowbox. Mechanic here sending forward a little expeditionary force of bandits looking to get into the Elven skirmish line and try and disrupt them for a little while. So these bandits are going to connect with their charge, sort of, kind of, but now that these Elven units have been brought to heel, they're just going to turn around and massacre these poor bandits. Look at this. Yeah, this is going to be a massacre in favor of the Elves. Although it seems like the Elven player, son of the Dunedain, is more interested in getting his archers out of there than continuously losing HP and fatigue to these bandits. Who's actually going to move forward with a unit of Silver Spears to check their advance, because this unit, now isolated, has no purpose out here. So the Elven Silver Spear is going to charge forward, actually get a nice charge off here, and pancake this poor unit of lightly armored infantry. Yeah, look at that. Defeat a certainty for these guys. The rest of the Eriador army now surging forward, looking to get stuck in with the Elves. You can see the Forge Hill Gatekeepers here on the front lines being targeted by the Elven Archers, who have actually fallen back now, trying to give themselves a little bit of space to skirmish the Eriador and Khandish player down. Glowbox's line's kind of in disarray at this point. Looks like he's being attacked by the Orcs of Gundabad at the same time as his allies are moving in. So they are trying to coordinate, they are trying to work together, but damn, just that withering fire from those Elven Archers is going to prove to be too much for this outnumbered regiment of cavalry. So they do get a half-decent charge in there, do some damage to the Hiribang, but a quick countercharge here by the Sindar Blade Masters is going to see these guys off. Got some artillery fire coming in. Looks like it got a nice little piece of the Elder Palace Guard, but just not enough to make a difference. See some fire coming in from the Forge Hill Gatekeepers into the Elder Royal Guard, and it is starting to have an effect. Look at that. The AP damage that those Forge Hill Gatekeepers can bring to bear is not to be underestimated. Another big volley coming in. Let's see if they get anybody. Oh, looking like no. It was very close, though. It's not a bad idea at all, using his allies as basically bait to get Glowbox's units to kind of bunch up and make themselves vulnerable to an artillery strike. But unfortunately, the unreliability of those trebuchets is starting to tell a little bit here. So the Gundabad forces the Guardians of Karn Doom charging into battle against the Hiri-Dirith. You know, that's a hard thing to say. The Guardians of Karn Doom have the HP and they have a lot of damage, but the Hiri-Dirith have a ton of melee defense, as elves tend to have. So it's going to be, I don't know, it'll be a fairly even fight, I think, despite the lack of HP on the part of the Hiri-Dirith. Down here, the Sindar Blade Masters just hacking apart these snow trolls who are just not having fun. Some Bulk's champions getting a nice charge into those Sindar Blade Masters. Look at the damage that they just did there. So it looks like Glowbox is in a little bit of trouble. We can see some lumbermen here have moved in to reinforce the flagging bandits. Actually, both units of lumbermen. But the Elder Palace Guard just keep on trucking. They take a licking and they keep on ticking. You can see them just hacking their way through the lines of these Eriador soldiers. From the rear, we have a very decisive charge from Apollo the Great with all the remains of his bodyguard unit, flattening those poor lumbermen. You can see some more reinforcements moving forward in the form of... actually, there's a Cardlin Warband in here that I managed to miss as well. But in the form of the Forge Hill Heavy Swords and the Cardlin Warbands. This bodyguard unit from Rune, however, is going to move in very quickly and check their advance, and actually inflict some pretty serious casualties on them, given these small amounts of units that they have in remaining regiment. These Banded Javelins going to get off a toss? No, they are not. So the 6 units of Rune Cavalrymen just proving to be an absolute nightmare. There goes one of the Gundabad generals falling in battle to the Elder Council and the Elder Royal Guard. Things not looking so great for the forces of Eriador and Khan. I think they've lost a lot of numbers at this point, and the elves are going to be able to pull it back just through sheer fighting skill alone. Fortune Heavy Swords moving in to try and make sure that doesn't happen. Taking on the Elder Royal Guard in close combat. I don't know if the Fortune Heavy Swords really have it in them, especially not with the reinforcements we're seeing from these Galadrim veteran warriors. Beautiful charge there into the flank of the Fortune Heavy Swords, who actually turned around at the last moment, and so they're definitely going to get the worst of it. Over here we can see the Khan is moved in. Actually, they had some Nurad assassins, which I totally forgot about because they're invisible. That's have moved in to support the Nurad footmen, and they're going to do a lot of damage to these Sylvan Heavy Spears. Look at that, a beautiful charge there. Another attack from behind. These Nurad assassins have really, really high melee defense, but they don't have any HP, so it is possible to kill them from range very, very quickly with arrows or javelins or cavalry charges. Very effective against them as well. But in melee, the Nurad assassins are an absolute nightmare. There goes the other Gundabad general. Gundabad, I think, has been swiftly dealt with by the forces of Glowbox. But Lothlorien seems to be having a lot less luck, I think, in the infantry fight. You can see the Fortune captains here fighting alongside the Kondish elite. We've got the Brotherhood of the Axe in here, and I think maybe the Brotherhood of the Sword mixed in as well, who are just pressing the flank hard of these Sylvan Heavy Spears, or these Silver Spears. Sylvan Heavy Archers trying to even the fight, but the Haruzi Heavy Infantry, fresh from dealing with this isolated unit of Sylvan Heavy Spearmen, is going to be able to move in there, reinforce the flank, and potentially turn this engagement around. Moving back on the Glowbox's side of things, it looks like the Elder Palace Guard, they have taken fairly serious casualties. I mean, 5 of them is like, that's like 25 HP or something like that. So it's a lot of damage the guys have managed to do, and it does mean that this unit is starting to take some hits. So maybe we'll see them run out of steam, but I don't think that's going to happen before Eriador runs out of infantry. Over here, the Elder Royal Guard being a complete nuisance. If only they still had a little bit of cavalry left, I think that could be a decisive factor here. Over here, the Elder Royal Guard and the Elder Royal Council alongside the Galadrim veteran warriors just cleaning up what remains of Eriador's army. These Cardalin warbands just don't have a shot at taking them down. You can see that Apollo's bodyguard, now down to a meager 2, is still proving to be a nuisance. The Banded Javies finally getting themselves stuck into combat with the rest of the army, tossing their payload, trying to take down the Elder Royal Council, and they seem to be doing a pretty decent job of it. Yeah, one of the Elder Royal Guard just fell to a javelin in the face. Bad way to go for someone who's probably trained for several human lifetimes. Not really a whole lot left of Fortune Gatekeepers either. I don't know what happened to these guys, but it looks like they got shot down by all the remains of the Elven archers. So Glowbox is cleaning up Eriador. Eriador has lost basically everything they got, and Khand, I think, is going to be soon to follow. The Variag Bowmen, although they're still in pretty decent numbers at this point, even these Fortune Gatekeepers with 19 left at this very late point in the battle can do some serious damage. Let's see what they're targeting. Possibly the Elder Royal Guard. Nope, these guys are going after the Elder Council, and they're doing a good job of it. A lot of those councilmen falling to that withering AP fire. Elsewhere, though, the addition of the Sindar Blademasters from Glowbox to the scrap here with the Nurad Assassins and the Footmen, maybe that's going to be enough. Maybe that's going to be enough to turn things around here and begin to thin out the numbers that Khan still has at their disposal. Oh, there goes Lorien's general. They are elves, though, so I doubt we're going to see them run. Over here in the center, the Brotherhood of the Sword and the Foreshell Captains are going to massacre these Sindar Blademasters, and indeed they're already in the process of doing so. It looks like there's some Nurad Footmen and some Battle Red Dunedain in there as well. So this is a big blob of elites that Glowbox still has to deal with. It'll be interesting to see if he's able to do that, because the Foreshell Captains, for example, have a lot of stamina. Over here, the Sindar Archers just being pummeled hard by the Brotherhood of the Axe, who are very healthy. 37 left in the unit. The Glowbox has some Elder Royal Guard charging into the rear of them. That might be enough to change the flow of this battle. I think that is going to prove to be the decisive moment in the battle here. The arrival of these Elder Royal Guard is going to crush these Brotherhood of the Axe. You can already see them getting to drop. And these Sindar Archers are going to be able to pull things back. Although I say that now, The center has been freed up, so maybe if Eriador and Khand use their elites effectively and surround these Elder Royal Guard, they will be able to turn the tide of the engagement. Although it seems that the noose is being tightened around all the remains of Khand and Eriador. The Elder Palace Guard now moving in from the rear. These guys are going to be a terror to deal with, and I don't know if even all of those elites have the ability to handle this. Looks like that trebuchet is tossing some of their rotten meat into the rear of these Elder Palace Guard. Charge here from the battle-ready Dunedain. Going to try and slow these guys down and give everyone else the time that they need to wipe out all the remains of the Elder Royal Guard and the Sindar Archers. Gladron Veteran Warriors looking like they want to do the same thing, charging into the Foreshell Captains, trying to delay them from reinforcing the battle-ready Dunedain, who are being swiftly hacked to pieces by the Elder Royal Guard and the Elder Council, or the Elder Palace Guard and the Elder Royal Guard. Oh man, those poor Dunedain, they never really stood a chance. Some archer fire from the rear. Looks like Khand trying to turn the tide of this by firing into the unprotected rear of the Elder Palace Guard, who, as I mentioned, don't have a lot of armor. So if they can get some decent shots in there, maybe they can take them down. And indeed, you can see some of the Palace Guard starting to drop. So there's not enough Dunedain there to hold them in place for long enough, I think.
How our cowardly foe runs. It's time to press the attack.
Very Egg Bowman getting a little bit closer. Yeah, definitely trying to get closer and get a little bit more accurate fire, because time is of the essence here. Another one of the Royal Guard beginning to drop. Foreshell Captains now freed up from dealing with those Galadrim Veteran Warriors, down to 4. Going to charge hard into battle against the Elder Palace Guard. Maybe with the addition of those Variag Bowmen, they can deal with this elite Elven unit. See how things are going over here. Not so great. Final stand of the Nurod Footmen and the Brotherhood of the Axe and Sword. I don't know. There's not a lot of Royal Guard left here. Maybe about 23 or so. If they can take these guys down, then that may be all that she wrote for Globox and his army. There goes Globox's general, killed by the Trebuchet crew, of all things. So those Variag Bowmen just aren't able to do enough damage fast enough to the Elder Palace Guard, who are hacking down these Foreshell Captains. What do we got over here? Looks like some Hiri Bang, some still fairly healthy Hiri Bang, now in behind the lines. About to take a big bite out of those Dunedain Rangers, who are trying to return fire, but they're just getting scythed down by that accurate bow fire, which is going to oblige these Variag Bowmen to charge into battle against the Hiri Bang. Maybe together, these guys are AP, so what little armor the elves have will not really serve them very well, especially if these guys manage to get in behind them, like kind of what they're doing right now, wrapping around this blobbed up unit. But I don't know. I think the high melee defense values of the Hiri Bang is going to carry these guys to victory. Yeah, there's just not enough Variag Bowmen.
Our men have slain the enemy general.
And there goes Eriador's general. Looks like the Elven forces finished mopping up what remained of Khand, and they came into the back of those Foreshell Captains, and that's going to be all she wrote. Globox down to, I think, less than 60 troops at this point, and look at that, dead even, within 2% of one another. Oh, these poor Variag bows. They're going to get massacred and rout almost immediately as those Elder Palace Guard charge into the rear. These Dunedain Rangers fighting hard against the Galadrim Veteran Warriors, but honestly, these guys don't have a chance. Let's see if he manages to take one down. I'd be impressed. Oh, he's got him locked. Come on, you can do it, buddy. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. No. There's no way. I'd be very shocked. The rest of these guys are charging after another unit of Variag bows and the Trebuchet crew, and they're going to hack them down like no problem. And that's going to be all she wrote. 99 to 99. This was definitely a close battle. The Woodland Realm, very, very strong, managing to pull out not necessarily a come-from-behind victory, but a very narrow victory over the attacking forces. These guys still fighting. Oh, yeah, it looks like they were still going. Then one of the Galadrim Veteran Warrior trying to get away. Look at this Dunedain Ranger. The realization, oh my god, I am so screwed. Take this. He's going to kill anybody with that arrow? Nope. He's going to get bisected by one of the Elder Palace Guard.
Victory is ours.
And that is it. 1% of the defending forces remain. That is a very narrow victory. Well played to everybody involved. Gundabad definitely... I liked their strategy. I love rush armies. I find them very exciting to play. But it can really only go one of two ways. Either you flatten your enemy, or they manage to stay on their feet and they kick your butt, which sort of is what happened. Those armies basically wiped each other out, and then Glowbox and the elves were able to clean up Mechanic and Khand. And I think a lot of that had to do with Khand losing their cavalry. If they'd have been able to hold on to their cavalry a little bit more, then they would have had them into the late game. Not getting them impaled on those stakes for a start would have been a great way to swing the tide of battle in their favor in the late game. If any of them had a cavalry unit at any point, they could have flattened a lot of archers and a lot of infantry, especially the not Palace Guard. The Palace Guard stand up to cav charges quite well, but the Elder Royal Guard are pretty weak to cavalry charges once they lose their first hit point. So let's take a look at the casualties, and then we'll move on. Not bad. From this is Rohan. They did pretty well, as well as could be expected, fighting a high-tier Gundabad force like what they had to deal with. But in any case, I have been Jordan, also known as JMonster. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you'll join me for our next video. In any case, I'll see you later. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye!